Welcome to the fifth lecture in our series of lectures on the paperback computer episode of The Machine That Changed the World. This series is based on a documentary titled The Machine That Changed the World of 1992. It was written and directed by Nancy Lind and produced by WGBH Television of Boston, Massachusetts and the British Broadcasting Corporation. Backers included the Association for Computing Machinery, the National Science Foundation, and the Unisys Corporation. In the previous lecture, we were introduced to Bill Gates and Paul Allen of Microsoft. Now let me introduce you to Mitch Kapor. Mitch Kapor was the founder of Lotus Corporation, the creators of Lotus 1-2-3. Lotus 1-2-3 was, for quite a while, the most popular spreadsheet program on the market. Lotus also introduced a product called Lotus Notes that is still in use today. Eventually, Lotus was sold to IBM, and although Lotus 1-2-3 has been discontinued, IBM still supports the product. However, Lotus 1-2-3 was not the first spreadsheet for microcomputers. In 1979, a company called Software Arts introduced the first VisiCalc. I believe that VisiCalc was a game changer for Apple because it took the Apple II off the computer hobbyist desk and put it on middle management's desk, a much larger market. In 1985, VisiCalc was actually purchased by Lotus. This is Jeff Raskin, one of the early employees of Apple. He's not nearly as well known as the others that we've been discussing in this lecture, but I have a reason for mentioning him in our discussion. Jeff is the man who started the Macintosh project at Apple. Most people give Steve Jobs the credit for that, as well they should, because Jobs took it over and became the driving force behind the project. According to one source, Raskin's idea for the project was to create something more like one of these machines than a computer. Jobs tried to kill the Macintosh project in favor of his Lisa project, but Mike Markkula prevented it. So Steve simply merged the two and was the person who had the most to do with the success of Apple's Macintosh. This is Chris Peters. He was one of the early employees with Microsoft. It's a real stretch to lump Raskin and Peters into the same group as Sutherland, Jobs, and Gates, but my curiosity got the better of me when I watched Chris Peters in this segment of the documentary episode.
One of the hardest things for programmers to do is write code perfectly the first time. The mistakes they often make are called bugs. Besides giving programmers bad dreams, bugs have caused late releases and product recalls costing billions of dollars.
All right, where are we and where do we got to be? We're in a very good place. The number of must-fix bugs is down to about 2 a day. I feel good that in 2 weeks it will be down to, so close to 0 no one will care.
Chris Peters, one of Microsoft's software supremos, has called his programming team together to discuss the final days of work on their latest software product, a financial spreadsheet.
I knew that many techies had made a fortune in the early days of computing, so I wondered about this guy, who seemed to be such a prominent part of this documentary. As it turned out, Chris was one of those fortunate individuals who turned their stock options and so on into a fortune. Notice he's holding a bowling ball in this image. Apparently he was a bowling enthusiast who did not qualify for the Professional Bowlers Tour, so he bought the American Bowlers Association. Well, this concludes our discussion of the paperback computer and pretty much the history of the computer. As you can see from some of the images that have appeared while talking about Jeff Raskin and others, a lot has happened since. Notice the graphic design of this undersea scene. Recall the video we saw of Sketchpad? Imagine how excited those guys would have been to be able to do something like this. What a difference 50 years makes. So, who are going to be the innovators of the future? Those pioneers we spoke of from the early days, Apple, Microsoft, and others, may no longer be changing the world. We've seen new companies like Google and Netflix and Amazon and others come to the forefront of discovery. There will be others. Watch Corning, for example, the glass people. Some of the research they're doing is stunning. We may be interfacing our computer through our coffee table and window pane one day. It's going to be exciting. There are 2 more episodes in our Machine That Changed the World documentary. They cover other concepts like artificial intelligence and social implications of computing as viewed 25 years ago. See you in the next lecture.